Hey, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and just a quick heads up, this interview actually is also on YouTube, so if you want to see me and Stephen Bridges sitting down to talk, you can do that at youtube.com. The channel is BJA Videos, and if not, you can enjoy listening to our conversation right here on the podcast. So without any further ado, here's my interview with magician turned YouTuber turned card counter, Stephen Bridges.
I would, in general, highly recommend that you don't use a hidden camera in casinos for a multitude of reasons.
Hey guys, I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm joined with Stephen Bridges, aka Magician. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
For those who don't know, why YouTube? Why card counting?
Oh, wow. Big question to start with. I've been doing YouTube videos for years. I just always have really liked the medium. I just really like it. It just feels a bit more rough around the edges than TV, and I've always liked it. So I did magic videos on YouTube for a really long time, and then I discovered card counting, and I just thought that would make a really interesting series. I mean, the thing I usually say is that there's been so many really good card counting documentaries, Holy Rollers, for example, but they all come from the angle of an established team that's really good at what they do. And I wanted to sort of document me fumbling through it. And I thought it'd be cool.
Well, a big part of Holy Rollers is that he couldn't put the documentary out till we were comfortable.
Yeah.
But you chose to put it out as your, I guess, right after, and then season 1, season 2, like your name and face are out there as you're actively a card counter.
Yeah, well, I made sure that I filmed enough videos that before actually putting them online. So I think there was maybe 2 or 3 years before I actually uploaded any of the stuff I'd shot. I think it just got to the point where people were saying, you've still got all this footage and you haven't done anything with it yet. So I hit a point where I eventually edited it and put it on there. And then the series did pretty well, and I had no idea how it would affect my ability to play. I thought it would do something, but I just didn't really have a gauge. And then it was quite a problem.
Did you put any thought into, why did you use your real name? Why not create a new channel?
Well, actually, I mean, it's because I got in touch with you originally and said I had this idea for a series, and you helped me out with just, going to boot camp, all these things. And then I filmed it with my own face, and I sort of was thinking about putting it on my main channel. So by the time it occurred to me that maybe it could have worked as just a voiceover with B-roll and not my face at all, it was sort of too late. And if I'd started a new channel, then that's the other thing, is I don't know how well it would have done, because it would have been no momentum. At least with the channel that I had a bit of an audience, so it had a better chance for success, I think. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of card counter friends that said, don't put the videos online. They were just like, don't do it.
So when you had to choose between creating, sharing the story, creating the YouTube content versus longevity.
Yeah. Well, I figured I got into this to make a YouTube series of me doing it. Like I really wanted to do it for its own sake, even if I wasn't filming it, but I also really wanted to film it and document the story. And as soon as I had the footage, I knew I had to post it, because there was some really good stuff in there, I thought. So I'd already picked my lane, and now I just kind of lean into that lane. Like, if you're putting your face out there as a card counter, you can't really half-ass it. You're either in and you're being public about it, or you're not. So for me, I just lent into it, and now my face is everywhere. But I can still play, as we have discovered.
Some of these questions come from BJA members. Okay. I asked, YouTube, community tab, questions people had, and I asked on the forum, and I prioritized the forum, of course. But Math Prof, you want to know why not go big with disguises, but maybe it's just that people don't know.
Yeah, I have gone relatively big with disguises. The videos that I filmed in disguise, I haven't put out there. But yeah, I mean, at first I was just putting on a different cap and things like that and changing my t-shirt. But now when I do a trip, I think way more about the disguises and put effort in. And I think if I'm going to continue playing, I have to go really big on disguises. So I'll see how far I can take that practically.
We just did an experiment, and I don't talk too much about it, but we just went to the strip and split up and tried to see if we could play. And long story short, you had a back off or two?
I had one back off, and that was just before I got to the blackjack table.
And we weren't dropping thousands of dollars a hand, but still some strong EV.
Yeah.
And it's possible. But now if you're on a trip and you're hot, your name's shared everywhere, especially being all over the YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's also because I have a distinct look. Like I have a ginger beard, I've got a British accent. It makes me stand out. So those things are my biggest enemy. So I mean, shaving the beard is something I've done, and it just changes the way I look entirely. And then if you add a wig and add a different kind of clothing style, I can look totally different. That's not going to save me if they do some kind of facial recognition scan, but that won't save anyone, I guess.
We're not going to talk about your entire origin story of training and all that, but had you gambled much or at all before card counting?
Not really. When I turned 18, I went to the casino and started playing poker, but I had no idea what I was doing. So that wasn't a very good experience because I had that sort of poker delusion thing where you're like, I think I'm reasonable at this, despite not knowing anything about it, bar the rank of hands and how the game is played. So I played a little bit of poker and lost a bit of money doing that because which wasn't great, but it was never like a huge amount of money. I think £300 was the most, was the total I lost to playing poker. I played some tournaments, that was fun. And I did dabble a little bit in some other casino games just to try them, but I never was really into them. Played a little bit of blackjack, but really, I could count on one hand the amount of times I went to a casino and placed a bet.
After you decide, hey, I'm going to become a card counter, all the training, all the practice, which, people can watch your videos or listen to other podcasts we've done about that, the whole journey. What was it like the first time going into a casino to count cards?
Terrifying, I think, in a nutshell. Also, being in the US, because it was the only times I've ever been to America are times when I've been here for blackjack in some form. Like boot camp was the first time I'd ever been to America, and then going to Washington to actually play properly. So I didn't really know what to expect. Your casinos are way bigger. You have police that are scarier. So I was kind of nervous. Yeah, I always describe it as it feels like you're about to rob a bank. When you walk in, for me anyway, I always feel that tension. Even just when we were playing, I don't know if you just walk in and it's super casual and just another day at the office. But for me, I still feel like
no
butterflies.
Yeah, I get the same thing. Like, okay, I've been the places that we just played, I've been backed off from each of them multiple times. So there's sort of this like, how's this going to go?
Yeah.
But then usually the butterflies settle.
I will say on that note, I think that I have an advantage now because if people know who I am and then they back me off, they're worried that I'm filming. Yeah. So then I think sometimes I get special treatment during a back off.
Going back to kind of the nerves.
Yeah.
How does card counting compare? Because you've been a street performer, you've been a professional magician. How do the nerves of card counting compare to other things you've done?
That's interesting. I think it's kind of similar. Nerves are nerves, except with card counting, the stakes are higher in a way in terms of what could happen. Like, could I get arrested? First time, like, I had no idea. Also, I was filming first time, so then I'm worried about what if I'm caught with a camera?
Which you still don't know the legality of some of.
It is a complicated legal issue that I will not comment on in the sake of a video in case it's used against me in court. But yeah, I was worried that they think I was using a device to cheat. So all those things were kind of factoring into the nerves. Whereas if you're doing a show and you do a bad show, sure, that will be unpleasant and I would fear that happening or be nervous of that happening. But the consequences wouldn't be any more than people thinking you weren't very good.
Yeah. There's not a possibility of getting cuffed for busking, for street performing.
Well, it used to happen back in like the 80s.
Yeah, but
not in my, the most I would get is a security guard that says you've got to turn the volume down or something like that. But I've never had anything that made me feel unsafe when I was street performing.
Is it exhilarating or was it exhilarating or was it like, this is beyond my comfort zone?
It was just within my comfort zone enough, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. But I think partly because when you put so much effort and training and then you book a flight and then you fly over and you've got money, you're committed. Yeah. So no matter how scared I was, I think I was still going to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's a thrill. I really like it overall. That feeling is like, it's more excitement than it is nerves, but I think both are there.
Yeah. And those there are different levels of it. Like before just playing, recently, before really moving bets, there's who's looking? Who's looking? But then it's the bets are escalating, the phone's ring, so there's kind of waves of the nerves. Do you have any tips or how you handle the nerves of the environment?
Yeah, I do think as cliche as this advice is, just like doing some deep breaths can actually be really helpful. Like just doing like box breathing or something, just when you are really just doing some deep breaths can help.
Box breathing, it was like inhale 3, hold it 3, exhale 3.
And then hold that. I think I do it for 4, but either way, it's all the same. But just that just kind of relaxes you a bit. So, but really, it's just a case of knowing that ultimately, the worst case scenario really, generally, you can still walk out the casino. Yeah. And if it's worse than that, you've got an amazing lawsuit on your hand and you've got like a $500,000 lawsuit. So in a way, it's kind of a bit of a win-win situation. So I would always bear in mind that if anything went too bad, I would just leave. And even in the most high complex situations, when there was a big argument, I still felt like I could leave. So I think just bearing in mind that it's a card game, you can still walk out the casino.
It might feel like a heist, but it's not a heist.
It's not a heist. It's not
playing
illegal.
A game of skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so I say this at boot camp sometimes. SD1 professional AP, he told me this: put your palms face up on your legs. That if you do that, it calms you. It does something to calm you down. And so I always tell people that get nervous for a test out, like, do that.
Nice. Does it work?
It's supposed to.
It'll at least placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's the same thing with the breathing, but I'm going to try that under the table next time.
There you go.
It'd be a weird way of sitting at the blackjack table.
And then the other one SD1 said is if you do the Superman pose, it's like proven to make people feel like more empowered or something.
I don't want to be the guy but I will be the guy. The person that did that TED talk, I believe, has since come out and said that, the science isn't what they thought it was.
All right.
Apparently. So just to take away that lovely advice. Well, I used to do power poses all the time when I watched that TED talk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I never knew if they worked, but I would do them because if they work, maybe work.
I was hoping you were going to be walking around the casino pit.
Just like walking around like Superman.
That's right.
I actually found back counting today made me more nervous than regular counting. When you sit down and just play, you're just playing the minimum and you look normal. But when you're stood awkwardly behind the table, there's only so long you can do that.
Well, I feel like there's an art to it.
But I'm not used to back counting.
We're not going to get into the art of back counting right now.
Yeah.
What about just the overall emotions of card counting? How does it compare to other things you've done?
Well, interestingly, there is a degree of variance in street performing because you can go out and you can do a good show, but then not really make much in the way of tips, and then other times you can do well. So there's a degree of variance. So that feeling, to an extent, I was familiar with, but the scale of it and the emotional impact when you're card counting is 100 times more.
Yeah.
And I think it's just one of those things that you don't necessarily get used to it. Well, I guess you can get used to it even if you're not comfortable with it. Yeah. It's still going to hurt when you lose a large amount of money. But I think you get more used to that feeling. And I guess the more you play, the more you know you're also going to have the good time. So it kind of all sort of is going to be fine in the end. You're still playing a positive EV game, but it's really hard to... I think taking a break is really underrated. I know this is kind of an odd thing to say, but sometimes people will... you're going after the EV, but sometimes I will end a session, particularly if the place is quite tolerant, I will end a session on a high. If I've had several losing sessions in a row, I'll end when I'm up maybe just a bit, because the psychological win of leaving and being up slightly is actually like it's just really good for me. And then I've got way more energy for the next few sessions. So that's not effective in terms of EV, but in terms of my own mental health, I would find sometimes taking a strategic break would actually just be the best thing.
Well, yeah. If people think quitting when you're ahead is good, no, it's not. But I tell people you end a session when you decide to, for whatever reason it may be.
Yeah.
You're tired, your brain's not functioning properly, too much heat, or you just decide I'm done for now.
Yes.
Like there's always EV another day or another hour or whatever.
And it's got to be a bit of a balancing act. Yes. If you think that this is going to be if you think you're going to get the back off whether you leave and they're going to do it retroactively or not, then you might as well play it out. But there are times when I think taking a break, you're allowed to take a break.
Yeah. If you're in a good mental space and keep playing.
Some people don't need to. They can just take all of that, all the pain, and they're fine. They can bounce back.
I was thinking you were saying like you don't get used to it, you get used to it, but it never becomes comfortable. It's like getting kicked in the shin.
Yes.
You get kicked in the shin, it's going to hurt. But if you got kicked in the shin every day. Even, well, here it comes. You're prepared for it, but you never like it.
Yeah, exactly. Like a boxer, I imagine, or a MMA fighter.
That's better.
Yeah, because he's going around getting kicked in the shin. It's time for my morning shin kick.
Yeah.
But yeah, they obviously, pain in that job, but they do it all the time. So yeah, it's something like that, isn't it? You just kind of get used to all the range of emotions that you're going to feel, and once you've been through enough bad situations, you don't have to worry about them as much because you know what can happen, and it wasn't that bad. And yeah.
I imagine even a boxer, if they take a couple years off, you have a flinch.
Yeah, definitely. If you take a break from card counting for a few months and then come back, then it's going to feel heightened. Yeah. The first casino we walked in today, I walked in, was the one that I felt the most tense at, and then a couple hours in, it was just like, oh yeah, whatever.
Like riding a bike.
Yep.
Nubs 1981. There's a clip in a video where you discuss a playing mistake, and we'll show it to the people.
Oh yeah.
It's a dealer error on insurance and blackjack. So you're recalling that you made this mistake with insurance, and the dealer's error on insurance and blackjack hand. Any advice for players to help them avoid the same mistake is Nubs 1981's question.
Yeah, so I think partly because my brain was so used to the concept of always taking insurance, not always taking insurance. every time the dealer has an ace, take insurance. Taking insurance but never taking even money, that was so ingrained in my head that I'd almost lost the meaning of what even money was and what it meant, mathematically. So in the moment, I was thrown off by, I can't exactly even remember the exact specifics, but either being encouraged to do the thing that I wasn't used to or being... Yeah. So that threw me off.
So I always tell people, if you're going to buy insurance, take even money on a blackjack, because mathematically it's the same thing, but it removes the confusion of the payout.
Yeah.
But that's
what I'd suggest.
It's a common, just those sort of beginner mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I think just it's good to understand all elements of the game. Yes. And I guess I understood the elements that I thought I needed to know. So because even money was something that I never took, because I would always just take insurance, it meant that when even money came up and was significant for whatever reason, I didn't fully understand it. And when you're trying to keep the count and also then try and figure out something logically, like if I wasn't trying to keep the count in the moment, I might have handled it differently. But it totally threw me off. And when someone else is telling you something with such confidence and they work there, it just was, it threw me. So yeah, I guess the advice would be is make sure that you understand all of the elements of the game, even the ones that you don't think you're going to need, because you never know when stuff's going to come up.
ERPA or ERPA, I don't know how he pronounces it. He wants to know how your background with magic has served you, or if it has served you in any capacity at the tables. You probably get asked this a lot.
Yeah, people tend to assume that being a magician somehow translates to card counting, and it actually translates less than I expected. Yeah. I thought, because in magic, I hold a deck of cards all the time, and I can feel if there's a card missing, because you just get really used to it. Yeah. You can be like, this isn't quite a full deck. And same kind of visually. So I thought my deck estimation is going to be amazing. But in reality, when it's 6 decks of cards or 8 decks, it just becomes a totally different thing. So really, if anything, magic holds me back, because my urge to fiddle with the chips in a way.
I saw you.
Did I do something?
At the cashier, I was like, oh, this guy.
By the time I was at the cashier, I just didn't care anymore. Yeah. Like I was just like, we're going.
I make myself not shuffle the chips at the table.
Yeah. I have to really consciously not do it. Or, I mean, the other option is just leaning into it and pretending I'm a poker player. So when I got like a World Series of Poker cap, then I would shuffle a lot, and I tried to just make it look like I was a poker guy that was just playing a bit of blackjack. So I've done that before. But yeah, in essence, I guess it can hold me back in a way. Yeah, because of fidgeting. I wish it was super applicable, but it is quite a different thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, 2 more questions, then we're going to get into season 2 of your series. So one of the questions is, what games do you play for fun?
What games do I play for fun?
Yeah.
Well, no gambling games, but I love playing Mafia, or it's also called Werewolf. I love that game. I love all social deduction games. So Secret Hitler is another really good game. But I like co-op board games. Yeah. We play those quite a lot. In general, that's like one of my favorite things to do, is just have friends around and play some kind of cooperative board game where you're all trying to achieve the same objective.
We did an entire blackjack team game of, we call it Mafia.
Yeah.
like 20 of us, and it was incredible and a total train wreck.
I used to play so much.
Yeah, we might have to do that when we have a group of APs together.
So down. Did you use special roles?
I'm sure we did.
Oh, yeah, do it properly, yeah.
All right. You'll be in charge of Mafia.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay. What advice would you give for new card counters, and is BJA worth it? I didn't write this. It's a real question.
Look, in my opinion, BJA is absolutely worth it. I can say with full confidence that I wouldn't be counting without it. When I've looked at some of the other literature on card counting, it is more daunting than it is helpful. Not all of it. I mean, I've not read every Blackjack book.
That's enough about BJ. Advice for new card counters.
Okay. Well, advice for new card counters. Yeah, I think I want to pivot it back into BJA because it's really the advice that you've given me. And one of the things I would say is essentially going for perfectionism is quite important in card counting because your edge is so small. If you're making a few mistakes, that can wipe out your edge, especially on like a double deck game. If you're off on the count by 1 or 2, then you could be betting big in a disadvantaged situation where you've got even more of a disadvantage. So perfectionism is actually quite good in counting. But the most important thing I would say is getting your game tested out by a card counter, because really you just don't know until you're actually there.
If you're not going to do that, at least a virtual test out. Like I'm trying to lower the bar for people with our virtual test out, but
you don't necessarily have to have a card counter test you.
Yeah.
You can for sure have somebody else test you, because at the end of the day, they can just deal, and every now and again, well, you can check the count at the end of the shoe and see if you're off. But I think that process of doing it physically is important, because sometimes when the variables are changed, it just becomes weird. I remember when you tested me out, you asked me to recite basic strategy verbally, and I really struggled at verbalizing the thing that I could do so automatically, which was odd. And I think sometimes that can be the case if you're training in a certain way, but it's going to be different to the casino environment. So that would be a big thing, is getting your game checked, even if it's by a friend.
We see at every boot camp that someone is really good at something and then you change it, like start dealing multiple hands or, a different bet spread, whatever it may be. And it's like, so that you got to get those.
Bet spread is a big one, especially when you train, you're going to be training the same bet spread all the time. So maybe it's good to train different bet spreads to get used to it, because it can take your brain a bit of an adjustment, and you're already doing a lot of stuff in your brain. So you don't want to be worried.
So your advice for new card counters is put in the training to be perfect, get your game tested.
Yeah, do everything in order.
Buy a Blackjack Apprenticeship membership, probably.
I mean, honestly, that is my advice.
Awesome. Season 2 of the vlog. Season 1 seemed more of kind of your journey to seeing if you could do it, seeing if this thing was going to work, prove to yourself that you could make money with card counting.
Yeah.
And then season 2, it's really fascinating because it shows kind of a lot of the ways that casinos violate players' rights.
Oh, yeah.
When the casinos feel like it. There's a lot of these chip cashing. Actually, no, there's a specific one I want to talk about.
Okay.
The guy with the gun tie clip. I knew it was going to be trouble when I saw the tie clip. It's actually like, it's crazy making for me to watch. Because I was thinking as I was watching it, imagine it being reversed. Imagine I'm in a casino and I say, I'm not going to obey the law. It's my policy. It's my policy to not obey the law. Like, what would happen?
Yeah, bad things. Yeah, exactly.
I've been cuffed in a casino.
Yeah.
Simply because the casino told the police that I was doing something wrong. But we can't do a citizen's arrest of the pit boss, whoever it may be. The casino man, you can't do a citizen's arrest.
That guy in particular, he wasn't trying to be antagonistic. He was very much of a I'm just following orders type.
Yes.
And it was this kind of weird, stifled conversation. But what I said in the video at the time is that it baffles me that he doesn't know the law. Or he should be able to, even if I'm wrong, let's say there's a law I'm missing, he should be able to tell me that, surely. But yeah,
the trump card was, it's our policy. And that's never been a trump card versus the law. And you're trying to explain it. And they're like, yeah, but this is our policy.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Anybody, they can, and this is weird because every now and again, someone will comment saying, you should have just done it. It's the policy. And they're totally missing the point, in my opinion. They can have any policy they want. And you have to comply with it to a point, right? So if I walk in the casino and I'm dressed in casual clothes and they say, actually, at this casino, we require suits. then I can leave. But the point is that the service has already been done at the point where, they're kicking up a fuss about ID. If they want ID before going in the casino, that's my choice to give ID or to leave. If it's when you sit down, that's my choice to give over ID or leave. But once you've played, you've entered into a contract with the casino that they are legally required to, fulfill their end of the bargain. So then when they start adding a policy term, it doesn't override the legal. Can you just imagine midway through? Imagine we had an agreement and midway through, and we had a contract, and midway through the contract, I went, actually, Colin, this money I owe you because of our agreement, I'm not going to give it to you until you wear a suit and meet me in France. Like, it would just be a weird example, but it would be ludicrous to change the term. So there is the legal thing, and then policy can be around it, but they have to fulfill their end of the bargain, which is cashing out the chips. An ID isn't required to do that most of the time.
There's nothing else in the world I can think of that is like this, where they just say, well, but our policy. And, I've been a card counter for close to 20 years, and I've never been a lawyer.
Yeah.
I never have claimed it. I've never really historically tried I knew that we were not breaking the law, but there were ways that casinos would violate our rights that I was just we were used to, we expected.
Yeah.
And I did a interview with Bob Nersession, who is a lawyer, who's defended advantage players recently, and he was beating the same drum you were, which is they have to cash out the chip. Like, they could say this is their policy. It doesn't matter. And so I appreciated that you were bringing to light.
Well, people say that I'm, just kicking up a fuss for the sake of it, for content. So, there's the flip side of the opinion.
Bringing people's rights being violated, bringing that to the attention of the world, to me is a good thing. Do you have any advice for people in that situation? What I don't want everyone to do is start wearing a
I really would advise that you don't wear a hidden camera.
And to antagonize people when they're demanding ID. So what would you say?
My position is to stand my ground. I think.
But you're not trying to make a long career as a card counter.
Right. Yeah, this is a good point. Like, my longevity is going to be capped in a way that other people's.
So I'm a new card counter. I've trained, I've tested out, I'm ready to start hitting the country. What advice would you give me when casinos say at the cash out that they can't cash you out under 10 grand, under $10,000 without ID?
Well, the first thing I'd say that's good to do is understand the law, because if you're there trying to have a polite argument and you don't really know, even if you know you're right, but you don't know the specifics, then you might struggle. So I think it is worth brushing up on the legal specifics, particularly, if you can do it for the state you're in as well, then that would be good. And the other bit of advice that I would say is to try, as hard as it is, to remain calm, because the second that you get angry visibly is the second that you're going to lose ground. Either they're going to get more angry, or you're just going to kind of look sort of out of control and being the one that's being unreasonable.
Yes.
And it's so hard. There's been plenty of times where I've not been chill, but I think it only makes it worse if you get angry. I don't think getting really angry at the cash desk is going to get you the money. So yeah, I would just basically say, try and understand the law, and then try and explain that politely and calmly. But if I had a better solution, I'd be doing it.
I'm going to give the advice that I give, which is if you can just leave, just leave.
Right.
You were in a situation where you needed to cash out then and there. You weren't going to be back.
Yeah.
But I would say, if you can just leave, just leave.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, I have to cash out now, Bob Nersession's advice was walk outside of the casino and call gaming, because gaming exists to protect the player. But it's a tough thing. I hope that it moves better in the direction of the law.
Yeah.
So thank you for your part of at least bringing it to light.
Yeah, I will mention that. Yeah, I'm thinking through the lens of most of the time I'm not going to be back at this place, so it is a bit more pressure on me to cash out, especially if I've got a team bankroll. They don't want me to take 3-5K's worth of chips back to England, so it's a bit tricky.
6 to 5 is the name of BJA member. He was at our last boot camp.
That's the name. That's great.
Yeah. He saw that you were speaking at the World Game Protection Conference and wants to know what what sort of things you were.
Why am I such a sellout?
Yeah, exactly.
I had one person on Twitter just I think you saw this conversation, just lay into me because they saw I was on the lineup for this. They didn't even read what my talk was about. So the only thing I spoke about at the World Gaming Protection Conference, and was the only thing that I would do, was the relationship between card counters and casino staff, and particularly the back off and how it's handled. And the main thing that I said is that when the casino backs off a card counter in an aggressive way, it makes the situation bad for the casino and also bad for the card counter. So the argument that I was trying to make is simply that if you just back them off in a really chill way and don't force them to do anything outside their legal rights, then it's better for everybody. So I didn't give any advice on catching card counters or anything like that, even though occasionally was asked a question on it. So I very much stayed in that lane.
And you did a really good job of saying, hey, why are you making this worse for everyone? And I think one of the best things that we can do, because I spoke at this thing 8 years ago. Well, they said, hey, do you want to speak at this thing? Or maybe emailed. And I was like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think a friend was like, well, what if you talked about what you want to talk about? And I was like, ooh, what would I want to talk about? And so then I told, Willie, and Willie was great. Yeah. I said, hey, I'll do it if I could talk about what I want to. He said, well, what's that? And I said, humanize our side, but also like apologize for the ways that I've dehumanized casinos and say like, look, how can we have a little bit of like not throwing grenades at each other? I'm going to try to take your money, but I'm not doing anything illegal, and you're going to try to stop me, and I don't need to treat you, the Antichrist or whatever for backing me off. How do we just make this a human interaction? Because we're gonna, you're there to take players' monies. Yeah. I'm there to take casinos' monies. Yeah. And so I felt like you did a good job of that humanizing.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think a lot of it's just meeting the people. So afterwards, and I was pleased that everybody that I spoke to seemed to agree that a back off should just be a quick, hi there, no more blackjack, you're welcome to stay. And there should be no problems with cashing out or anything like that. Everybody I spoke to fully agreed with that approach. Now, I hope that has gone forward, and I hope that they're going to go back to their casinos and say, and adjust their policies if they weren't doing that before.
But yeah. Well, that was his follow-up, was what was the feedback like from the...
Surprisingly positive. It was really weird. I mean, how it feels. In all honesty, when I found when I was there initially meeting the other speakers and a lot of them in the casino industry, I felt more uncomfortable initially. And I don't know if that was just me projecting. Like, no one was rude to me. But initially I was a bit like, okay, I'm in the room with these surveillance directors. Yeah. But everybody that I met afterwards on the casino side, and it was 95% surveillance people, were all really, really nice. And very nice. So that was good.
What I'd love to ask, I actually thought about a way to, if I spoke there again, I would start out and say like, who here uses coupons? And everybody raises their hand and be like, how dare you advantage play the grocery stores?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
What kind of advantage shoppers do you think you are?
Yeah. In the UK, we have meal deals. I don't know if this is a concept that's outside of the UK, but it's one of the greatest things that we've created as British people. It's just when you can get a sandwich, a packet of, not crisp, chips, and a drink or some variation. You have these things, but it's all for like under £4. Yeah. And the advantage play situation is you get the most expensive drink with the most expensive sandwich, and then you get to see the savings you've made.
How dare you?
How dare I do that and maximize my profits?
Now, of course, we're talking about larger amounts of money, that we're trying to take from casinos than like the meal deal. Yeah. But at the same time, like I don't know if there's a person that works at a casino that would say no if they could beat someone at a game profitably.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No, I don't want to win money at a game. How dare you?
Legally,
because I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Well, good job trying to humanize us to them. I thought it was it was interesting, and there's a line of people afterwards that wanted to talk to you about it. Okay, moving on with season 2. There was a game that you guys realized after the fact you're playing with little or no edge.
Yes. Yeah. That was not great situation.
Can you share what it was or no?
I deliberately was sort of vague about it. And I actually don't really know the specifics of of the rules of the game, but it's the kind of game that you would come across where you'd go, whoa, this is rare. And then
it turned out
to not, it like had some rules limitations.
And you guys lost
10K, I think
10K.
it was on that.
But after rerunning the numbers, it was more that it was break even.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think there may have even been a tiny edge or something, but it was, But at the time, it felt like we'd thrown 10K away, even though that's not quite.
Yes. So that's what I wanted to tell people. This happened very early on. I was on a very small team, me and two other people. And I remember, I think I made a deviation mistake or something.
Right.
And of course I lost as of a result of it. And I felt like I cost the team, whatever it was, $500. And my teammate that was more experienced, he was like, Colin, that was probably like 50-cent EV mistake. And I was, now of course, $10,000, it's gone. So you don't want to be like, oh, it was just, you know, EV. But at the same time, it can help you get over the pain of, we miscalculated it. You didn't make a $10,000. Now, AV, yeah, you did.
Exactly.
But EV, you didn't, and over the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. And when I was speaking at the time, I was more speaking from how it felt.
Yeah.
It felt like throwing 10K away. But in reality, I mean, what's the worst case scenario? We're playing a game where the casino has a tiny edge because he's playing perfect basic, etc. But I mean, the reason that mistake happened is because our teammate wanted to run it by the manager, our team manager. Our team manager was asleep because of time zones all over the place and couldn't. So then in the group chat, a couple of us sort of were like, well, yeah, it seems fine based on what he said. He even was going to cap the max bet by quite a bit. So it seemed really unlikely that anything would go wrong. We also thought he was going to get it back off really fast. And then before I know it, I checked the group chat and we're 10K down on that. But this is the thing I said in the video, and I really believe this. I don't think of it as him making a mistake at all. I think it's a team error because we should have like a check and balance, like a policy. We can have policies too. We should have some kind of policy in place which stop that kind of thing happening. And now we do. Now things have to be run by the manager if it's unusual.
Anyone that's done this long enough has miscalculated an edge somewhere, or I've thought something had a much bigger edge than it did, or a smaller edge than it did, and but yeah, there probably could have been a procedure to avoid it, but those things absolutely are going to happen.
There's always going to be challenges and things that pop up that you can't anticipate, but that doesn't mean that you can't try and anticipate a lot of them.
But going back to the YouTube channel part of this, do you feel like this has affected not only your AP career, putting these 2 seasons out now, but also the careers of other APs?
Yeah, this is a criticism I get from a few APs. I think it's a totally valid question to ask. I think that people do greatly overestimate the impact that I have. And I think it this way. So yeah, people are going to see my videos and be inspired to count. But out of all of those people, how many will actually end up counting and being winning players? I'm more worried about people casually taking up blackjack and not counting.
Yeah, so I call it the 21 the movie effect.
Right.
21 the movie came out in 2008. We were running $1 million blackjack team at the time. Mm-hmm. Every card counter I knew was terrified the movie was going to ruin card counting. And it came out, nothing is going to get as many views as 21 the movie. Nothing you or I do.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm always willing to hear the criticism and to think through it. I'm never above thinking about, am I doing more damage than good? And I ask regularly people I respect. But the reality is 21 the movie had a bigger impact, and it created 1 million wannabes and some pros. And now we're 15 years later, and it's still there.
Yeah, I think there are way bigger threats to card counting than too many card counters. Although it's tricky. Yeah, it's a hard thing to sort of really judge. And I'm always open to having the conversation about it. And I really have listened to that critique, but I'm not convinced that I'm making an impact in a way.
Ironically, the thing that has negatively impacted card counting more than anything, in my opinion, in the last 15 years was COVID.
Right.
That's affected changes in casinos and rule changes. Now we just proved it can still be done even in somewhere crappy like Vegas.
Yeah.
But it's the things outside of and then people say, oh, well, then is it going away? I don't know.
Yeah.
People thought it was going away 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years. But yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I don't know if the rawness, the realness of a real person filming himself really good is that more damaging than all the stories?
Yeah, maybe, because it makes it a bit more accessible. Maybe it thinks, if I'm a normal guy, then
you're not. You're a magician.
There we go. Yeah. So it's a hard thing to judge. Overall, I'm not convinced that it's making an impact. I also think there are things that are way bigger threats to card counting that people almost overlook in comparison. So, how much do you want me to?
Wow.
It's weird because I don't want to give to casinos tips. If I go and say there's this one element of a casino.
No, let's not. Autonomity. BJA member Autonomity wants to know any tips on recording oneself in a casino for YouTube, but also for checking on your game, and if you've been accused of using a device.
Yeah, I would, in general, highly recommend that you don't use a hidden camera in casinos for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, if they think you're using a device to cheat at the game, you are in a really bad spot.
And you have to prove that you weren't. You might have to prove that you weren't.
I'm not quite sure. But either way, you could end up in...
Lawyer?
I could be, but not right now. Yeah. So that's the first thing I kind of would say is that it adds like a level of pressure. Something, I've worked with hidden camera experts and they've said to me, you'll be really tired at the end of the day when using this because it just creates a level of anxiety on top of the level of anxiety you get when being a counter. So, but here's the thing. Yeah, if they catch you with a camera, that it could be very bad. So, and also posting videos to YouTube will affect your ability to count. I've been recognized from my voice as well. So it's hard to get around it. So in general, I wouldn't recommend it. However, to actually give the question an answer, recommendations would be to learn how to use hidden cameras properly. This is where being a magician has come in handy because we have principles like the larger motion covers the smaller motion. So if I have a switch for a camera on my wrist, then I won't just press the switch. I'll do that as I adjust my sleeves or something like that. So I would learn how to use the camera. I would also research the laws in the states that you're going to have the camera, because taking aside the cheating stuff, if you're caught recording a conversation, that could be very bad depending where it is and
a lot of states. You could get in trouble for that.
Well, that's partly why I chose the route that I did on the season 2.
Chose the sweaty South.
Yeah. But I could record without worrying about it. So in general, in terms of cameras themselves, I can't recommend any specific camera. You have to buy a load of them because there's not an industry standard. And then you have to test them and see if they work. But I really would recommend that you just don't record.
Yeah, I would give the same advice. I don't want everyone thinking, hey, I'm going to... Get another AP to watch you play in a casino if you need to know if your game sucks in a casino and you're not doing anything that could be considered using a device or whatever. But we'll move on from that. We're going to go into a segment called Rapid Fire Q&A with questions from Joe748.
Love it. I'm ready, Joe.
For those who don't know, Joe748, $1 Million Card Counter. He helps with the podcast, but he's not helping with this. Okay. Where do you do your currency exchange?
I tend to just keep the cash in general. I don't really exchange it.
All right.
I just have a safe deposit box.
So you've got some quid and some bucks.
Yeah. We try and keep as much cash as we can because it's handy to have the cash. So I have a safety deposit box and there is some cash in there. You will not find it.
Okay. Travel hacks, being a vegan, traveling, finding food in the middle of nowhere.
It's very difficult, but in general, chains can sometimes be good. So like in different parts of America, there are different chains. Find one chain that you can rely on, like Chipotle or Olive Garden or things like that, even though people, have mixed feelings on that. That's the easiest way. Typing vegan into Google Maps tends to be the easiest way. So that will address the very niche portion of vegan card counters that also have this problem.
All right. He wants to know, in your most recent season, teammate number 2 got 128 hours with only 4 backoffs.
Oh, yeah.
How?
I can't say. I don't think I can actually answer. Okay, so he was, I can say, he was doing something else.
Okay.
That wasn't quite the same as what the rest of us were doing.
How did you do the team pay structure? as far as like percentage of investors, percentage of players?
Yeah, so in general, the standard thing that we do is 50-50. And we always look at it like
half to investors, half to players.
Yeah. And we look at it like kind of buying shares in a company that we dissolve at the end, because players nearly always are investing in the trip as well. So yeah, you'll get paid out based off the winnings, proportionately based off your investment. And then players will get paid out usually based off time, never based off actual value. Never do that, because everybody's sitting and playing. It doesn't matter who wins the money. So we do
everyone's playing with the same skill.
Yeah, and everybody gets tested before the trip. And even if someone wasn't playing with the same skill, that's on the team for letting that person be on the team. So yeah.
Did any Louisiana casinos back off any of your teammates, even though they recently have passed a law that they're not allowed to back you off?
I have been backed off in Louisiana. I also have, other teammates that have been backed off in Louisiana.
Even though they're not allowed to?
Oh yeah, totally. They don't even know they're not allowed to. I guarantee 99% of the staff in that casino have no idea that you can't back off a card counter in Louisiana.
What was your favorite part of visiting the South?
What was my favorite part of visiting the South? Hot Springs. I just liked the place. There was like a nice friendly vibe, and it just was this cool little quaint town, and there was a really nice cafe that had really good vegan food and great coffee.
What's the longest session you've been able to play ever, after having been a YouTube celebrity?
I'm sure I've done like an 8-hour session. Okay. Since, definitely like an 8-hour session.
All right. That concludes rapid fire, but we're not done. We've got non-rapid fire. At this point, you've put in hundreds of hours. Do you feel like you can tell when a back off is coming?
I think most of the time. Sometimes they just catch you off guard, but I think heat is always incredibly obvious. Particularly, I like to be quite friendly at the table and I try and talk to the pit bosses before they talk to me. I'll try and get their attention and say hi for some arbitrary reason, because I like to try and win people over. I think that can help with longevity, maybe not for everybody. So then if the baseline is them being friendly and then they think I'm counting, it is impossible for them to maintain the same level of friendliness. Yes. I've never seen any casino member of staff manage to hide that they feel suspicious of you. So that's one way. But sometimes
out of the blue. Yeah.
There's an interesting line in one of your recent videos where you said there's a tipping point where I become more of a liability than an asset.
Yeah.
And you're referring to your team. So Crazy Otto wants to know, how do your teammates feel about you being so well known?
Generally, they are pretty fine with it. It's one of those things where it depends. If I'm getting the hours in, then I'm getting the hours in. And in that previous team trip, I didn't get the lowest amount of hours out of everybody. So that would sort of say, okay, yeah, there's definitely times when I'm getting backed off because someone recognizes me, but I'm still getting time in. I've talked before about whether or not I cover some of my own expenses to offset some of the risk.
But because if you're going to get backed off more frequently, then the EV generated relative to the travel expenses is going to be...
Exactly. And there is a tipping point where, hotel fees can be so expensive, whereas depending on where you're going and depending on what day of the week it is. So things like that. But, but in the last trip that we did, I went really big on disguises, and by no means was I a liability. So that was really quite reassuring.
Nice.
Disguises, I think, are super underrated as a side note.
What do you see then as the end goal with this?
I think I try not to have end goals.
Yeah.
In general. So in terms of the actual Beat the Odds series 1 was, let's see if I can do this. Series 2, in a way, was, can I still do this now I've done series 1? And what I don't want is for the whole series to become so meta that it just becomes about itself. I think that's fine for one season to be a bit like, whoa, they're recognizing him based off being YouTube. But if it just becomes that, and if it just becomes just this one big conversation about ID, then I won't feel like I'm adding anything. So the next season, if there is one, has to be sort of answering a new question or having a new element that would make it interesting.
And do you need to present this to your team like each season, or it's just always in conversation?
In general, everybody knows that I want to film, and everyone knows that I'm really careful about putting people in the videos, really careful. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but one teammate, once he saw a video and saw himself in a video, wasn't comfortable with it. So instead of blurring his face, I blurred his entire body. And then instead of pitch shifting his voice, I re-recorded all of his lines in a fake American accent that I just did, and then I pitch shifted that. So I really will go to efforts to, and I send the videos to the team, so they check everything. I'd be very, very careful.
You must get asked all the time. People say, "Can I join your team?" Or is your team
all the time
looking for people?
Yeah, it's a big variety.
Because a question you were asked is, I'd love to know if you're looking for additional teammates, and how is the process for recruiting?
It's really tough because with a blackjack team, it has to be trust. Like, the first thing is, can I trust this person with a large sum of money? Because anybody at any point could just say, "Oh, I had a losing session and I lost $8,000," and we just wouldn't know. We just wouldn't know if they were. So the trust thing has to be there before we even check if their game is good enough. So in general, all of the people that have joined our team haven't come to the team and gone, "Hey, can I join your team?" It's always been the other way around, where we've just befriended them and we got on really well, and then there's trust there, and then it naturally sort of comes up. So we're not actively looking at expanding the team, although we are always open to it. But most of the time, it's just very hard to, if someone just reaches out to me in a cold DM, how am I going to know I can trust that person?
Yeah.
It's so difficult. And I am quite trusting, but I have to be careful. And everybody on the team has to trust the person too. If one person on the team gets a bad vibe, we don't have that person on the team.
Yes.
So it's quite a high.
Absolutely. And people don't understand. Yeah.
You have to, because
everyone, if those kind of fissures can happen so quickly of trust and the camaraderie, and a team is so special. People don't realize how special it is to have a group of people that enjoy working together, trust each other, all have good skills.
And that's the same with all of the team policies we have. We make sure that everybody's happy with them. Yeah. Even if people don't agree, there's a point where everyone goes, "All right, I accept that I'm outvoted here." And they actually make that active commitment. And I think that's really important because, it is a team. And the team element of the team is the most important element of the team before you even get to the counting.
Yeah. Nubs 1981 wants to know, is there anything non-blackjack related that you've learned from being a member of Blackjack Apprenticeship?
Well, in general, a lot of the skills that you learn as a card counter in some way are transferable. The way that you think about risk and expected value seeps into my life in every decision or thing I think about, or anytime I'm giving someone advice on a decision, I'm talking about it in like, well, what would be your expected return be? What is your risk of ruin? Like, you can convert these concepts a lot. So I'd say that's the main thing I think that really seeps into the rest of my life. But whenever you go outside of your comfort zone, and counting is something outside of your comfort zone, I feel like those things can be translated in ways.
Now, after 3 years, hundreds of hours of play, what do you feel like with this much time as a card counter are the best and worst things about it?
About card counting generally, I know we've just sort of talked about it.
And everything that goes with it.
Working on a team is the most fun. Even if you're playing solo, but in different states, but you're sharing a bankroll, the level of camaraderie that you get on a team makes the whole experience way more enjoyable. So I'd say team stuff in general, whether it's, team in a casino doing big player spotter stuff is the most fun I've had. There's just something so thrilling about it, and you don't necessarily know if your big player is up because you can't really check. But they're walking around with a tray of chips, and then it's great fun. So really, the team element is the thing I've enjoyed the most. The biggest lows are obviously the high conflict situations, but that's just, you can leave the casino. So a lot of people could avoid a lot of the conflict that I have just dug my heels in.
Do you think that's a bigger low than the emotional toll of losing streaks?
That's a really good question.
Or the loneliness, travel?
It's like a multiplier, I think. I'd say losing money is probably the worst thing.
Because you're there, you want to have
your
fun.
Objective.
But you're not there to have fun and lose.
Exactly. Having fun and breaking even, fine. But having fun and losing isn't fun. So having fun and losing isn't fun.
Yeah. Getting backed off, treated poorly and losing.
That's the worst combination. So one of the worst ones I had, it was a pretty tame back off, but we were on a downswing of on the way to 100K downswing, and I lost 30K, and I went to the restroom and splashed water on my face because I was losing, and then 30K. I was like, oh. And then I walk out of the restroom, and then there's multiple security people there ready to just escort me out. And that, even though the back off was relatively chill, it's just so.
It's because you don't have a chance to try to get it back from that place.
Yes.
Right?
Well, yeah, and sometimes that might be the last opportunity you have on the trip, or the nearest casino is 3 hours, or all sorts of things. So it can feel awful, yeah.
You get into card counting to take the casino's money, and then when you give them your money and are told you can't,
It's outrageous.
it's a pretty awful feeling.
I describe being a card counter as being a professional loser because you have to lose like all the time. But to be honest, all of that bad stuff, it's good life experience because it helps me.
And you do make money. We do make money.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're a professional loser.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, losing is a stronger feeling than winning in general. So you will probably have more negative emotions doing this than positive, but that doesn't mean that... I always think that overall, even saying that, when you look back at it, you're like, I'm so glad I've done this. Even the trips that are really tough, at the end, I'm like, what a thrill.
Well, we know that about like compliments versus criticisms.
Yeah.
And like you can know the statistics, like it takes 10 compliments to account for one negative comment or whatever. It doesn't really affect how it doesn't make it easier in a sense. However, maybe it can tell you something like, hey, I need to soak in when my significant other said compliment, I need to actually like soak that in because there's something going on in my brain that wants to not like that's a 1 out of 10 and then a negative comment is 10. And maybe, as a card, I wish like whatever you need to do, meditate or even like write down your stories or something to not get in that negative loop.
Yeah, that's great advice. I totally agree. Whatever you can do basically to manage your own emotions on it. But trying to see the bigger picture is always a good one. We just played at different casinos. I didn't win. And I just try and at the end of it, I think what I said to you when we were walking back is when you're asking me how it felt, I just said, blackjack gives money and it takes money. Yeah. But I owe so much of everything I have to blackjack. And part of it is that every now and again the game will go, not today.
Oh yeah, totally. And the people that have the staying power, the Tommy Highlands, they know blackjack gives and takes away and they know it's going to give back again.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Magic community and the AP community, how do they differ? And if you can offend both, you get bonus points.
Oh, if I can offend both?
In your answer. No.
Okay, yeah, Magic community. Oh, yeah, this is...
Because they're both secretive, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Magic community at conventions can be quite friendly. Like, if you're a magician, you're at a convention, often people can be quite welcoming. But there's also quite a lot of egos at play. The AP community, I have found... Well, it's kind of hard to gauge the AP community because how often do you...
There's no convention.
There's no convention, right? So you can only kind of judge it based off online and then people that you actually meet. I have met a lot of APs I really, really like. Like, I've met some really good friends.
So we're better than the Magic community is what you're saying. Well, no,
I know some great magicians, but yeah, I mean, they're both different. They're very different communities, though. Yeah. They're not comparable. I don't think.
Okay,
it's quite nice actually when I'm hanging out with other APs. It reminds me of this area, this kind of person. It's like a different personality type.
It is. It's such a unique. It's such a unique thing.
APs are more rebels. They've got more of a rebel streak in them, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Because we're cool.
That's right. Snarky Sparky wants to know if you had to do over, what would you change?
I wouldn't have put my face online, even though, you
could have done it without your face, without your real name.
Yeah. If I was doing it all over again, I would have actually perfected an accent and probably used that in the videos and then, or even pitch shifted or used a voice changer. Yeah. And then I would have just had B-roll, because some of the most popular videos are the ones where actually it's a lot of me just pausing and then saying over the top of the clip anyway, and they can't see from the camera. So I would have done that. I would have had way more longevity and it would have been a more sustainable format.
What is the most dramatic situation you've experienced in a casino?
Well, other than police being there and just massive arguments about ID and being surrounded by too many people, there's something that springs to mind that's interesting that I haven't mentioned online. Is on the last team trip I did, which isn't what was on YouTube, there was a situation where it was mainly a team in a casino, like BP spot and stuff. But this one time I was in the casino playing by myself, and not only did I get a back off, and it was quite funny because when I got the back off, I was wearing a mask, I was wearing a wig, and I had glasses on and a hat. So I was really fully like all out the stops. And the security person recognized me based off my voice, which was a pain. But when I got to the cash desk, they wouldn't cash out anything above $5,000 without ID, Weirdly, they would let me cash out $5,000.
Exactly.
So I did that first before having the argument about the last 800. And then I had this kind of big argument. I just wasn't going to leave and I was standing my ground. And then the Gaming Commission was called in. I was like, oh, great. The Gaming Commission's here.
Because they exist to protect
exactly
the players.
It's really nice that we have gaming commissions, the intermediary between the casino and the player, someone that can take a neutral stance and just do what the law says. So that was really good. I saw him, but he kind of looked a bit grumpy and he was kind of sort of stood like this. And I called him over and he came over and I sort of explained what was happening. And he went, well, I don't know why you just can't give over your ID. And I just was so taken aback. And I said, hold on, but I don't legally need to do that. And this sort of him really, really kind of aggressive guy. And I ended up saying, wait, your job is to be the intermediary between the casino and the player and to enforce the law. And he said, my job is to enforce the casino policy. So I know we've talked about calling gaming commissions. They are not always going to be helpful.
This is the first, I've been running Blackjack Apprenticeship for almost 15 years in some capacity. And this is the first time I've done a video interview with an active card counter that's not like blacked out face or whatever. So thanks for doing this. It's fun.
This has been great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And check out youtube.com/Stephen Bridges.
That's the one.
Check out the card counting YouTube series. And for more from Blackjack Apprenticeship, blackjackapprenticeship.com.